Firefighters have contained a more than 4,000 hectare bushfire burning west of Ashford, bringing the blaze under control after 5 days. More than 20 rural properties have been impacted at Wollongara and Limestone Roads, both reopening. RFS crews are still in place to strengthen containment lines with hot and dry conditions predicted this weekend.
Armidale residents are becoming impatient as the number of flights cancelled by Qantas is on the rise. Locals say they're missing important medical and business appointments, along with connecting flights to travel overseas.
Flight times changed and services cancelled. Armidale locals say they're fed up with uncertainty on their travels.
I had 3 flight changes this morning. I'm on my way back to Armidale. I had 1 cancelled flight and 3 flight changes.
Qantas putting that particular delay down to a blown tyre and admitting there have been a higher than normal number of flight cancellations recently due to operational or weather issues, leading frustrated locals like Carolyn Chapman to share their experiences online.
What concerns me the most is that regional flights are being cancelled and people are trying to get to specialist appointments.
It comes as the only other option. Rex Airlines will cease operations out of Armidale next week. The company suspending its route to and from Sydney until at least March next year, with fears the national carrier will put up fares.
They shouldn't take us for granted, and they can't jack up the prices.
Qantas has told NBN News it's committed to ensuring airfares are reasonable and will swap a smaller aircraft for a larger one to fill the gap when Rex leaves. The local MP also concerned more services could be on the line, saying the federal government's Australian Aviation to 2050 Green Paper questions if more spaces at Sydney Airport should be allocated to international routes.
Any moves to reduce the regional ring fencing provisions will be opposed vehemently and unanimously by Country New South Wales.
The Federal Infrastructure Minister today told NBN News congestion at Sydney Airport presents a significant challenge for regional routes, and the government must modernise slot allocations, with more announcements to come. Rex Airlines was contacted for comment. Georgia Vaughan, NBN News.
It will live in the memories of locals for years to come. A tornado ripping through Armidale in 2021. 2 years on from the disaster, residents have gathered to remember the devastating events and reflected on the heroes who made a difference.
October 14, 2021, a day that would change Armidale forever. A tornado tore through the town, leaving mass destruction in its wake.
The scenery, unbelievable.
The resilient community gathered at the town hall today to mark the 2nd anniversary of the natural disaster that destroyed a dozen homes and damaged more than 1,000. The recovery event a chance to remember the courage shown by residents and emergency services.
It did bring back memories. There was, a few tears watching the slideshows, listening to the stories.
Those stories, remarkable.
About 100 wheelie bins ended up 20 kilometres to the east of town, just all on one property, where when the tornado stopped, they all dropped out of the sky.
The roof landed to my place. It was not ours.
Guest speaker Justin Hu recounted the moment the tornado hit the town, lasting a matter of seconds, that caused widespread damage over a 40-kilometre radius. His home suffered roof and water damage. It's still being repaired.
We got lots of torchlight because the power already gone. And the torchlights and lots of chainsaw and everyone work hard together. That is amazing.
25% of buildings at the UNE campus suffered damage in the disaster, and the recovery process is still ongoing, with the board this week signing off on the demolition of 2 buildings.
This week we'll begin to move a whole school that went from the buildings they lost into temporary buildings and now into new homes.
Rob Douglas, NBN News.
Werris Creek Pool will not reopen until November 11 after upgrades to the interior and balance tank took longer than expected to complete. The revamp includes a new solar-powered system to heat the pool, accessibility lift, shaded seating and barbecue area.
The battle to control the state's feral pig population has received a significant boost. Millions of dollars have started to flow into the operation in a move welcomed by Northwest farmers.
The mission to eradicate nearly 90,000 feral pigs from New South Wales is about to begin. Welcome news to Tinton Hole farmer Colin Quast. His turkey, barley and wheat operations haven't been badly impacted yet, but he remains on alert.
I actually talked to a farmer just west of Tamworth the other day, and he had to harvest his sorghum early because the pigs were doing so much damage.
We found in 2019 in a local land services study that feral pigs caused $55 million damage to the cropping industry alone.
Announced in July, $13 million in state government funding has now been allocated to help control the species. Aerial shooting and education programs will be boosted, while the cost of baiting grain will be fully subsidised, as populations have boomed over the last 2 years.
Well, certainly over the last 3 years we've had significant wet seasons, and what happens in that period is the feral pig population can really build up quickly.
The northwest remains a hotspot for the feral animals. Despite this, just over $1.5 million has been allocated locally. Local Land Services is now urging landholders to reach out to help. Colin agreeing it will take a united effort.
It probably could have happened years ago when pigs were first noticed. So hopefully this is just the beginning.
Gabriella Warner, NBN News.
New South Wales Farmers is set to provide new opportunities for women in agriculture to upskill and network. From next year, it'll offer up to 10 tailored programs to develop the capabilities of women in the sector. A third of on-farm income is generated by women, but New South Wales Farmers says formal support is rare.
The ongoing trend of cold, clear nights and chilly mornings, then warming days is with us yet again. Mid to high 20s right across the northwest today, mostly topped out into the high teens across the tablelands.